I didn't fully understand how I was going to sell them before I decided to do them. This has been the crux of all of the decisions we've made with our own brands for many, many years, because it all stems back to a mistake I made with a product when I first started selling my own brands in 2016. 2017, we made the decision to do noise canceling headphones. And we had some success in the electronic space, and later found out that we should probably get out of electronics and electronics accessories because it's so competitive. But the biggest mistake with these, we did higher end Bluetooth noise canceling headphones that cost me almost $40 landed. I didn't fully understand how I was going to sell them before I decided to do them. They ended up flopping, and I would use the launch strategies. At the time, you could do giveaways, and I would get to the top of a keyword and then I would quickly fall off. And what I was realizing is that I could not compete on Bluetooth headphones. I could not compete on wireless headphones or just headphones. Those massive keywords with tens or hundreds of thousands of searches per month were just dominated by very cheap, high converting products. And so the one keyword that I was able to maybe get to the first page was wireless Bluetooth headphones, but the exact search or that long tail phrase was searched a lot less. And then those other cheaper options were still dominating search on me. And so it caused me to realize that in order to do a product or decide to do a product, I first need to always answer the question, how are the current sellers getting their sales? And not only that, not just how the best seller is getting their sales, but maybe the top 10 or top 15 sellers are getting their sales. And once we started to aggregate all of that, those lists of keywords that they were ranked well on and overlay them, we would see that even though the best seller is doing a good job, he's still missing some keywords. And then the third guy was missing even more keywords, and he was getting his sales from maybe somewhere else, right? And so we were able to kind of compile this matrix of keywords and really understand the demand and work backwards from that demand as to what can we compete on? What can we rank for? Realistically, what are people looking for? What is their buyer intent on a keyword? What is the relevancy of those keywords? So really it answers so many questions for us around what is the risk of doing that product? How am I going to rank it? Is it too competitive? Are there enough different types of keywords and different types of ways people are searching for it? And how many units can we sell relative to how well we can rank on enough of those keywords that have a certain amount of search volume? It's the foundation of all of those answers. And so it's kind of where I geek out and where I really love to really play is in keyword research and understanding the demand. So the biggest thing for me is to make sure that the demand is distributed more so than it's a certain amount. I do want to make sure that what I'm going to sell, I can sell enough per day to make a minimum profit per day, to make the effort of my team of designing, developing, launching, managing, maintaining is worth it, right? So for us, it's a minimum of like $150, $250 profit per day is kind of our benchmark. Some products fall less than that, especially with variations. But as a whole, a parent listing, you want to be at least that. Some people have higher, minimum thresholds. Some people, when they're just starting out, might have less, right? For me, it's just that if in order to meet that, I have to sell a certain number of units, make a certain amount of profit per day. That can easily be seen by when you compare those top 10 sellers. Those guys that are ranked on 50, 60, 70% of the search volume on the first page of the aggregate of that search volume that we talked about, those are going to be guys that you can compete with pretty quickly. If you implement a really good launch strategy, build your listing properly, write those keywords in the right place in your listing, in the right format, and then turn on the right keywords for PPC, you've got good conversion rates early because you designed a good product, you'll be able to rank for at least that on the first week, right, of launch. Consistently, we see that. That's kind of the number of units per day you'll get. The biggest concern for me is when you have one main keyword or keyword root where all of the search volume is, and everyone's good at that. And then all of the long tail keywords, even though there's a lot of keywords, they really make up like less than 10%, 5% of the search volume. What ends up happening is everyone can kind of guess without doing good keyword research, without using Jungle Scout or Data Dive or any tool. They can guess what that big term is. And so they can compete with you. And so you got all these newbies coming in and all these big brands coming in, and you got all these guys coming in and Chinese sellers or any other sellers. They could just kind of guess and then they can compete with you. What we're looking for is the skilled products where there's like, I'll give you a perfect example of a skilled product, a toiletry bag. It's called a toiletry bag. It's called a bathroom bag. It's called a men's shaving bag. It's called a men's shaving kit. It's called a travel bag for men. It's called a travel bag, right? Wash bag, a DOP kit. All of those are legitimate ways to call the same type of product that can, will convert well on all of those types of keywords. And then you have all the long tail versions of all those: gray, felt, blue, leather, right? And so you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of keywords where that distribution of sales volume is really good. That to me is what I'm looking for, is that distribution, the demand. You'll be able to see that from the current sellers and how they're ranked and how good they are at Amazon, and then make sure it hits your threshold. So their sales estimates are super key, but also you need to know how good are they at Amazon to achieve that. And the way that we determine how good they are at Amazon is to kind of understand, based on those relevant keywords of that curated list we create, it's what percentage of the search volume from that list are they ranked on the first page for? And then how beatable are they? Right? So if they're only on 60% of the search volume and they're making a Jungle Scout sales estimate is, 800 sales a month, and then the next guy is on 70% and he's doing 1,000, the story makes sense, right? He's ranked on more search volume on the first page, and it kind of steps up from there. And then we have to ask ourselves, well, what percentage of the search volume can we rank on the first page for? And how's our listing going to look compared to theirs? How's our design versus theirs? Can we beat them on conversion and then start to pass them in search by pumping with PPC, right, from a SEO perspective? And then that'll really answer the question. So those sales estimates are the foundation. Then you have to ask, well, how good are they to achieve that? There's a couple things. It's going to be rank is a function. So Amazon's ranking algorithm is a function of performance times relevancy. So the relevancy is established by how you write the listing. So relevance, and this is per keyword. So your performance on a keyword level and your relevancy on a keyword level. So if you've got a relevancy of 1, that's the highest you can get. That would mean that you wrote that keyword in exact form in your listing. So ideally in the title, you get the most credit in the title, right? So you've got exact form. So toiletry bag for men, you wrote toiletry bag for men in the beginning of your title. That is a relevancy of 1. Amazon gives you the highest. Now what happens is if you take your performance and you multiply it by less than 1 because your relevancy isn't good. If I only wrote men's toiletry bag, that's a broad match. That's, a broad plural match even. Amazon's kind of guessing that it's relevant, but you didn't write toiletry bag for men. And even though people think that that's kind of the same thing and Amazon should figure it out, broad match is good enough, it's not. You're not going to get as much ranking credit from a relevancy standpoint as someone who wrote it in exact form. They're going to get more credit. So what we're trying to do is make sure that we write these listings in exact form and we're performing well. Now, performance is conversion, your conversion percentage, click-through rate, and your revenue. So for SEO and ranking perspective, we need to drive actions. We need to drive traffic. We need to drive clicks. You get a little bit of credit for a lot of keywords every single time you get an action. So if you think about it this way, Amazon is a search engine, which is a spider web of keywords. In order to get credit for that men's toiletry bag, you can get a click on toiletry bag for men, but you're going to get a little bit of credit. You're going to get a broad credit, right? So maybe 30% credit. Because Amazon needs to give you attribution to hundreds of keywords every single time there's an action. Otherwise, they would have to wait for an action to happen on every keyword, and that's not realistic, right? So every single time something happens, they're giving you a little bit of credit in the bank, but you got to unlock it with the relevancy piece. So it starts with a foundation of writing your listing well, and then a foundation of making sure your listing is going to perform well. Your offer, your product is going to perform well by doing a lot of testing ahead of time, designing it in a better way, making sure that your design is more desirable, your content is more desirable, it's more likely to get clicks, more likely to meet the need of the buyer. So doing all of that upfront work before you even place your order will ensure usually that your offer is going to perform once you start running ads to it.
Now, this was just a very small piece taken from the full webinar, but you can watch it all, plus get 10 more hours of exclusive content by visiting the link below. This year, Jungle Scout hosted our first ever Amazon Seller Week, where we teamed up with industry-leading experts to help sellers like you elevate and evolve your business. We covered 10 different learning sessions on topics like advanced advertising strategies, growth funding options, supply chain tips, and much more. And you can access all of it for free with the link below.